नहीं नहीं, जब आरती कर रहे हैं तो सब दिखाई
हरे कृष्ण।
और आ कैमरा हो गया।
Ready? Yes, sir, ready. Lord Krishna in the city. Hare Krishna. Lord Krishna in the city. Hare Krishna. Chapter 71, Lord Krishna in Indra's city. In the presence of great sages Narada and all other associates of Lord Krishna, Vrindavan considered the situation and then spoke as follows. My dear Lord, first of all, let me say that the great sages Narada Muni has requested you to go to Hastinapur to satisfy King Yudhishthira, your cousin, who is making arrangement to perform the great sacrifice known as Rajasuya. I think therefore that your lordship should immediately go and there to help the king in this great venture. However, although to accept the invitation offered by the sages Narada as primarily is quite appropriate. At the same time, my lord, it is your duty to give protection to your surrendered soul. Both purposes can be served if we understand the whole situation. Unless we are victorious over all the king, no one can perform this Rajasuya sacrifice. In other words, it is to be understood that the king Yudhishthira cannot perform his great sacrifice without gaining victory over the brilliant king Jarasandha. The Rajasuya sacrifice can be performed only by one who has gained victory over all directions. Therefore, to execute both purposes, we first have to kill Jarasandha. I think that if we can somehow or other gain victory over Jarasandha, all our purpose will automatically be served. The imprisoned king will be released, and with a great pleasure, we shall enjoy the spread of your transcendental fame for having saved the innocent king whom Jarasandha has imprisoned.
But King Jarasandha is not an ordinary man. He has proved a stumbling block even to great warriors because his bodily strength is equal to the strength of 10,000 elephants. If there is anyone who can conquer this king, he is none other than Bhimashena, because he also possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants. The best thing would be for Bhimashena to fight alone with him. Then there would be no unnecessary killing of many soldiers. In fact, it will be very difficult to conquer Jarasandha when he stands with his Akshayuni, is that right? Akshayuni divisions of soldiers. We may therefore adopt a policy more favorable to the situation. We know that King Jarasandha is very much devoted to the Brahmanas. He is very charitably disposed towards them. He never refuses any request from a Brahmana. I think, therefore, that Bhimashena should approach Jarasandha in the dress of a Brahmana, beg charity from him, and then personally engage in fighting him. And in order to assure Bhimasena's victory, I think that your lordship should also accompany him. If the fighting takes place in your presence, I am sure Bhimasena will emerge victorious, because simply by your presence, everything impossible is made possible. Just as Lord Brahma created this universe, and Lord Shiva destroys it simply through your influence. Actually, you are creating
Actually, you created and destroyed the entire cosmic manifestation that Brahma and Lord Shiva are only the superficially visible causes. Creation and destruction are actually performed by the invisible time factor, which is your impersonal representation. Everything under the control of this time factor. If you invisible time factor can perform such wonderful acts, so Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will not your personal presence help himself conquer Jarasandha. My dear Lord, when Jarasandha is killed, the queens of all the important kings will be so joyful at their husbands being released by your mercy, that they will all sing your glories, being all pleased as the gopis were when released from the hands of Sankhachuda, all the great sages, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, the goddess of fashion, Sita, and even your father and mother were all delivered by your godless mercy. We also have been thus delivered, and we always sing the transcendental glories of your activities.
Therefore, I think that if the killing of Jarasandha is undertaken first, that will automatically solve many other problems. As for the Rajsurya sacrifice arranged in Hastinapur, it will be held either because of the pious activities of the imprisoned kings or impious activities of Jarasandha. My lord, it appears that you are to go personally to Hastinapur to conquer demonic kings like Jarasandha and Shishupal, to release the pious imprisoned king, and also perform the great Rajsurya sacrifice. Consider all these points. I think that your lordship should immediately proceed to Hastinapur.
The advice of Uddhava's was appreciated by all who were present in the assembly, and even considered that Lord Krishna going to Hastinapur would be beneficial from all points of view. The great sage Narad, the elderly personalities of the Yadu dynasty, and the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, all supported the statement of Uddhava. Lord Krishna then took permission from his father Vasudeva and grandfather Ugrasena, and he immediately ordered his servants Taruk and Jaitra to arrange for travel to Hastinapur. When everything was prepared, Lord Krishna especially bid farewell to Lord Balaram and the king of the Yadus, Ugrasen, and after dispatching his queens along with their children and sending their necessary luggage ahead, he mounted his chariot, which bore the flag marked by the symbol of India.
Before starting the procession, Lord Krishna satisfied the great sage Narada by offering him different kinds of articles of worship. Narada wanted to fall at the lotus feet of Krishna, but because the Lord was playing the part of a human being, he simply offered his respects in his mind and fixing the transcendental form of the Lord with his heart. He left the assembled level airways. Usually, the sage Lord does not walk on the surface of the globe, but travels in outer space. After departure of Narada, Lord Krishna addressed the messenger who had come from the imprisoned kings and told him that they should not be worried, for he would very soon arrange to kill the king of Magadha Jarasandha. Thus he wished good fortune to all the imprisoned kings, and the messengers, after receiving this assurance from Lord Krishna, the messenger returned to the imprisoned kings and informed them of the happy news of the Lord's forthcoming season. All the kings were joyful at the news and began to wait very anxiously for the Lord's early arrival.
And the chariot of Lord Krishna. The chariot of Lord. Yeah, 643. The chariot of Lord Krishna.
Now Lord Krishna thus entered the city of the Pandavas, enjoyed a beautiful Hare Krishna. The chariot of Lord Krishna started for Hastinapur, accompanied by many other chariots, along with elephants, cavalry, infantry, and similar rolling paraphernalia. तो पहुंच गए थे ना पास bugles, drums, trumpets, conch shells, and horns all produced a
Mic,
loud,
mic.
auspicious sound, which vibrated in all directions. The 16,000 beings, headed by the goddess of fortune, Rukmani Devi, the ideal wife of Lord Krishna, they accompanied by their respective sons, all followed behind Lord Krishna. They were dressed in costly garments, decorated with ornaments, and their bodies were smeared with sandalwood pulp and garlanded with fragrant flowers. The riding on palanquins, nicely decorated with silks, flags, and golden lace, they followed their exalted husband, Lord Krishna. Infantry soldiers carried shields, swords, and lances in their hands and acted as royal bodyguards to the queens. In the rear of the processions, in their hands and acted as royal bodyguards to the queens. In the rear of the procession were the wives and the children of the other followers, and there were many society girls also following. Many beasts of burden like bulls, buffalo, mules, and asses carried the camps. Bedding the carpets, and the women who followed were seated in separate palanquins on the backs of camels. This panoramic procession were accompanied by the shouts of the people and was full with the display of different colored flags, umbrellas, and wreaths, and different varieties of weapons, dress, ornaments, helmets, and armaments shining in the sunlight. The procession appeared just like an ocean with high waves and sharks.
In this way, the procession of Lord Krishna's party advanced toward Hastinapur, New Delhi, and gradually passed through the kingdom of another Gujarat provinces, Surya, Surat, the great district of Rajasthan, and then Kurukshetra. Between those kingdoms were many mountains, rivers, towns, villages, pasturing grounds, and mining fields. The procession passed through all these places in its advance. On his way to Hastinapur, the Lord crossed two big rivers, the rivers Subati and Saraswati. Then he crossed the province of Panchal and Matsya. In this way, he untimely arrived at Hastinapur or Indraprastha.
The audience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is not very commonplace. Therefore, when King Yudhisthira heard that Lord Krishna had already arrived in his capital city, Hastinapur, he became so joyful that all his hair stood on end in great ecstasy, and he immediately came out of the city to properly receive him. He ordered the musical vibration of different instruments and songs, and the learned brahmanas of the city began to chant the hymns of the Vedas very loudly. Lord Krishna is known as Krikesha, the master of the senses, and King Yudhisthira went forward to receive him exactly as the senses meet the consciousness of life. King Yudhisthira was the elderly son of Krishna. Naturally, he had great affection for the Lord, and as soon as he saw him, his heart became filled with great love and affection. He had not seen the Lord for many days, and therefore he thought himself most fortunate to see him present before him. The king, therefore, began to embrace Lord Krishna again and again in great affection.
The eternal form of Lord Krishna is the everlasting residence of goddess of Parthi. As soon as King Yudhishthira embarrassed him, he became free from all the contaminating material existence. He immediately felt transcendental bliss and merged in a ocean of happiness. There were tears in his eyes and his body soaked in ecstasy. He completely forgot that he was living in this material world. After this, Bhimsen, the second brother of the Pandavas, smiled and embarrassed Lord Krishna, thinking of him as his own maternal cousin, and thus he also merged in great ecstasy. Bhimsen was so filled with ecstasy that for the time being, he forgot his material existence. Then Lord Sri Krishna himself embarrassed the other three Pandavas, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadev. The eyes of all three brothers were inundated with tears, and Arjuna embraced Krishna again and again because they were intimate friends. The two younger Pandava brothers, after being embraced by Lord Krishna, fell down on his lotus feet with respect. Lord Krishna thereafter offered his obeisance to the Brahmanas present, as well as to the elder members of the Kuru dynasty, like Bhisma, Drona and Dhritarashtra. There were many kings of different provenance, such as Kuru, Sridham and Kekara, and Lord Krishna duly reciprocated greeting and respect to them. The professional reciters like the Sutas, Magadas and Banditas, accompanied by the Brahmanas, offered their respectful prayer to the Lord. Performing artists like the Gandharvas as well jokers began to play their Panava drums, kansels, kettle drums, binas, mridangas and bagals. But they exhibited their dancing to please the Lord. Thus the all-famous Supreme Personality of God, Lord Krishna, entered the great city of Hastinapur, which was opulent in every respect. While Lord Krishna was entering the city, all the people talked amongst themselves about the glories of the Lord, praising his transcendental name, qualities, heart and soul honor.
The roads, streets and lanes of Hastinapur were all sprinkled with fragrant water through the trunks of intoxicated elephants. In different places of the city there were colorful festoons and flags decorating the houses and streets. At important crossroads there were gates with golden decorations, and at the two sides of the gates there were golden water jugs. These beautiful decorations glorified to the opulence of the city. Participating in this great ceremony, all the citizens gathered here and there, dressed in colorful new clothing and decorated with ornaments, flowers, garlands, and fragrant scents. The houses were all illuminated by hundreds and thousands of lamps placed in different corners of the cornices, walls, columns, bases, and archives. And from far away the rays of the lamps appear to be celebrating